There is a plausible link between this goal going in, this goal going in, and this goal going in. Without Cohen scoring against Ipswich in 2016, the past decade would not have happened. Forest might not even exist. That goal could be one of the most important that any Forest player has ever scored, because without it, Evangelos Marinakis would not have bought this club. After 4 chaotic years under Fawaz al-Hasawi, including winding up orders, transfer embargoes, and even a reduced stadium capacity, reports were suggesting that Olympiacos owner Marinakis was plotting a takeover. Fawaz al-Hasawi was already negotiating a sale to an American group led by John J. Moores, but that collapsed at the last minute. Eventually, Marinakis' offer was approved, and he was the full owner of Forest.
We have a long-term plan. And within this long-term plan, of course, we want to bring Nottingham where it belongs. And Nottingham belongs to the elite of the Premier League.
At the time, that interview seemed ridiculous. How could a team that avoided relegation to League One on goal difference be expecting to get back to Europe? The top half of the championship seemed like an ambitious goal, but for some people, ambition just isn't a strong enough word. Evangelos Marinakis is one of those people. He had a dream. He wanted to get a club he watched as a boy back to where he thought they belonged. After years of mediocrity, Forest fans didn't dare to dream anymore. They were just happy finishing above Preston or Burton. But this club did not belong alongside West Ham and Wolves, let alone Arsenal and Liverpool. Marinakis immediately set out his vision. He vowed to replicate his success with Olympiacos at Forest. He was so sure of success, he was actually even secretly bankrolling the club before he bought them and during that game against Ipswich. But the dream that Marinakis had was a long way off. This squad was filled with nobodies. Vladimir Stojkovic might have been a Serbian international goalkeeper, but my dog is better at catching footballs. Gaboli Aribi was that year's big signing, but never even played a minute in his 2 years at the club. He had a huge job on his hands, and Sky Sports were reporting that Marinakis had told the Forest manager, Mark Warburton, he would have the time and support necessary to rebuild the team and create the conditions for success.
We stayed up, and the KPIs for Mr. Marinakis were lower the age, lower the numbers, and give the club a consistent mid-table finish with every KPI, and the chairman walks in and sacks you.
Warburton would not make it to the new year. There's a thin line between trusting yourself over others and arrogance, and I think if anything, that's the line that Marinakis has crossed the most as owner. If he doesn't like how something is going, he'll change it, even if all of the signs point towards a different direction being better. He decided that O'Neill was a poor choice of manager, and then trusted Sabri Lamouchi, someone who had never managed in England, and someone who'd only even played a single match in England as a player, which was strangely against Forest in 1996, as the right man to take over the club. And in this occasion, he was spot on. Forest would miss out on the playoffs in freak circumstances, and when everyone else was expecting a sacking, he then gave Lamouchi a new contract. Not including caretakers, the Forest average tenure has been over 50 matches, and that's including Ange, but not including Sean Dyche. I do think a large part of the reputation Marinakis has comes from his love of winning. Forest is just a business to him, but the dozens of charges against him in Greece and the reputation he's built in England are both from his personality. Now, ask yourself, if you didn't support Forest, would you rather have a chairman who didn't care about the club like Wolves, or one that cared too much like Marinakis? But for someone who loves to win so much, Forest were now 3 years into his tenure as chairman, and that clock was starting to tick. It was time to create something good. Forest needed to seem like they were advancing off the pitch, even if on it, they'd only moved from 21st place to 8th. What could get the fans more excited than a new stadium? In May 2018, Chairman Nicholas Randall announced 2 infrastructure projects, an upgraded training ground and a brand new stand. 7 years on, the training ground seems like it has had some improvements, but there's no sign of that new stand. Maybe it's harder to get planning approval for mega projects like this in the UK than Greece. Maybe the improvement on the pitch over the next few years would actually make these initial plans redundant. Or maybe they were just a last-ditch attempt to keep the fans on side, as it looked like Forest were about to stagnate. As a reward for his initial investment in Forest, they now had a very youthful team, mainly coming from their academy. The likes of Joe Worrell, Matty Cash, Ben Osborne, Ryan Yates, Alex Myton, Brennan Johnson, Arvin Appiah, a less ambitious chairman would probably cash in and just settle for mid-table. But that is not what Marinakis chose to do.
But first, it is set to be one of the biggest transfer deals in Championship history. Nottingham Forest are set tonight to spend £13 million on João Carvalho.
That summer, Carvalho came in for $13 million. Michael Dawson rejoined. Lewis Graben joined for $6 million. Hefele, Pantilimon, Sudani, Colback, Figueiredo and Robinson were all clear upgrades on the squad Forest had. It was clear Forest were going for it that year. But the Karanka and O'Neill combination didn't quite work. The season after, Forest would do the Lamucci experiment we mentioned earlier, and after that, his season started so badly, Forest decided to hire Chris Hughton. After about 55 games, Hughton would also go, and that is the moment everything changed for this club. Marinakis' legacy as a flip-flopping owner, who sacked managers all the time, became the man who got Forest to where they belong. On the 21st of September 2021, Forest were on a single point from 7 games. 9 months and one amazing highlighter kit later, Forest were playoff champions. There couldn't have been a sweeter season, and there really wasn't. Every game, every fan went into it thinking we would score 3 or 4 goals, and often we did. While Marinakis had focused on defence first for the first 5 years of his time at Forest, Super Cooper's attacking 3-4-1-2 was exactly what this Forest team needed.
Gibbs White feigns to go one way. Chris Summer saves it! And Forest are going to Wembley!
But now, Marinakis had a new challenge. For years, he had been hamstringed by the EFL's FFP calculations that didn't allow big losses despite Forest having one of the highest incomes. But now, he was free to spend, at least for a bit. We all know what happened next. Forest would sign 30 players with the single goal of just surviving. Every single game was a sellout that season. The ambition was back with the fans, and you could feel it almost everywhere in the city. It didn't matter if Forest were losing 3-2 to Bournemouth or winning 1-0 against Arsenal at the end of the season. Every single game was bouncing, every single match was a sellout, and the team would do what they needed to do: survive. The season after was the same, but again, Marinakis was about to take another hit.
Nottingham Forest have been docked 4 points for breaching Premier League profit and sustainability rules.
Opposition fans would call into TalkSport calling Forest cheats. Forest fans would call in saying they're okay with it. Given the circumstances again, I'm sure Marinakis and almost every fan would have done the same thing. He would do anything to see both of his teams be successful. Sometimes he'll cross the line, and I think this is why he's racked up some serious charges in Greece, but on this occasion, his decision was right. Forest would survive, and the best was yet to come.
Elanga forward for Wood, inside left channel, great shot! Yes! Forest are ahead! It's Chris Wood!
Cooper might have gone, but 2025 was the season Evangelos Marinakis had claimed he would bring all the way back in 2016. He grew up watching Forest play in the Champions League, and on this occasion his gamble failed. Had he just had a tiny bit more ambition himself, things could have been even sweeter. Rumours that Forest could have signed Matthias Cunha, Johan Visser or Omar Marmoush that season proved the table that Forest were now sitting at because of this Greek billionaire. Before Marinakis bought Forest, their 3 most recent signings were Lika, Nicholas Bentner and Zach Clough. And that is why, despite his many flaws, the majority of Forest fans will appreciate Marinakis for what he is: an elite football club owner who sometimes goes too far. As a person, he's not got a good reputation. As a businessman, he is cutthroat and ruthless, but as an owner, he's the man you want at your club. It doesn't hurt that he's a billionaire either, you know. You might have noticed what I was doing with the section titles in this video. Dream, love, create, fight, survive, win. These are words that mean so much to the big man that he's got them tattooed on his arm. This is just who he is, mate. The Greek billionaire who saved Forest from dying. I really hope you liked today's video, and if you'd like to help the channel, please consider becoming a channel member. As I'm sure you can imagine, there are so many interesting stories out there that can only come from the mouths of the people who were there. So I can promise every single penny that's invested in this channel will then be invested into camera equipment and transport costs and fees that I have to pay to start interviewing ex-players, staff or fans. But no problem if you're not feeling a membership. Thank you for watching, I really appreciate that. And remember, We always was, and we always will be, a tricky tree.